Evelyn's words echoed relentlessly in Sophia's mind. He's the real family here. You're just extra. These cruel words cut deeper than any physical wound as Sophia lay in her hospital bed, staring at the sterile white ceiling, her fingers curling around the thin blanket. It wasn't the pain from the car accident that tightened her chest. It was the emotional betrayal, the realization that she was an outsider in her own family. Evelyn's voice had been dripping with satisfaction, as if she had been waiting for years to deliver that final blow to shatter Sophia's sense of belonging. In that moment, Sophia understood the depth of Evelyn's resentment, the extent of her manipulation. She felt a wave of anger rising but swallowed it, her face remaining calm and indifferent, much to Evelyn's surprise. The real reason for Evelyn's visit was not to check on Sophia's health but to deliver another devastating blow. Evelyn revealed that she had drained Sophia's inheritance, the money her late mother had carefully saved to secure her future. Every penny was gone, transferred to Evelyn's son, Ryan. "Ryan's your father's real family," Evelyn had said, her words deliberately cold. Sophia's heart raced, not just from anger, but from the profound sense of betrayal. Her mother had entrusted that inheritance to safeguard Sophia's future, knowing her husband wasn't financially responsible. Yet Evelyn had stolen it all, rationalizing her actions by positioning Ryan as more deserving. Sophia's pain was not just from the loss of money. It was from the realization that Evelyn never saw her as family. She was merely an inconvenience, a remnant of her father's past life, someone who didn't belong. The words, "You're just extra," echoed in her mind, each repetition hammering away at her sense of identity. It was as if Evelyn was not just taking her inheritance but also erasing her place in the family, invalidating her existence. That emotional wound cut deeper than any physical injury. It was the pain of being unwanted, of realizing that her father's new wife never saw her as a daughter, but merely as an obstacle to her ambitions. However, it wasn't the insult that shocked Evelyn. It was Sophia's reaction. Evelyn had expected anger, tears, and desperate pleas. She was ready to bask in Sophia's misery, to feed on her emotional breakdown. But Sophia simply said, "Thanks for letting me know," her voice steady, almost indifferent. The slight twitch on Evelyn's face, the momentary falter in her smug expression, revealed her shock. It was the first time Evelyn realized she had underestimated Sophia. She expected weakness, but Sophia's calm demeanor hid a storm brewing beneath. A storm that Evelyn never saw coming. Sophia's heart was broken, but she was not powerless. Even as she lay injured and vulnerable, she was already planning her next move. Her mother had always taught her to be strong, to be prepared, and never to show weakness to those who would exploit it. She remembered her mother's words, "Never let them see you break," so Sophia held back her tears, her voice even, her eyes cold. She wouldn't give Evelyn the satisfaction of seeing her broken. Evelyn thought she had won, that she had stripped Sophia of everything, but she was wrong. In that hospital bed, Sophia's resolve hardened. Evelyn's cruel words had ignited a fire within her. A fire that would soon burn away every lie Evelyn had ever told. Sophia lay in her hospital bed, her body broken, but her spirit unyielding. The sterile white ceiling above did little to distract her from the echo of Evelyn's cruel words. "He's the real family here. You're just extra." The words replayed in her mind like a relentless drumbeat, not because of their cruelty, but because of the truth they revealed. Evelyn had never considered her as family. In that moment, Sophia saw clearly that she had been an outsider in her own home. Unwanted and unloved. But more than that, she realized Evelyn had not just come to wound her with words. She came to deliver the final blow, to tell her that her inheritance, the money her late mother had left to secure her future, was gone. Every penny had been drained and given to Ryan. The betrayal was staggering, but Sophia refused to give Evelyn the satisfaction of seeing her break. Evelyn had expected tears, anger, and pleading. She was ready to gloat over Sophia's misery, to savor her victory. But instead, Sophia's response was cold and calculated. "Thanks for letting me know." Her voice was even, her face a mask of indifference. Evelyn's smug expression faltered, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. That was the first crack in her armor. She had underestimated Sophia, expecting weakness and vulnerability. But Sophia's calm demeanor masked a fierce determination. The betrayal was brutal, but Sophia would not be defeated. Evelyn believed she had taken everything from her, but she had no idea what Sophia was capable of. Sophia's composure wasn't born from apathy, but from strategy. Even as she lay injured, her body aching and broken, her mind was already calculating her next move. Her late mother had always taught her to be prepared, to stay 3 steps ahead of those who would harm her. And that lesson had never been more relevant than now. Sophia realized she had been naive, too trusting of Evelyn's false kindness. She should have seen through the act, should have known Evelyn was playing the long game, slowly working her way into her father's heart and then into the family's finances. But Sophia wasn't going to dwell on the past. She was going to turn this betrayal into her advantage. Evelyn believed Sophia was powerless, lying weak in a hospital bed, abandoned by her father, and stripped of her inheritance. But she was wrong. Sophia was hurting, but she was not broken. She had known for a while that Evelyn was up to something. The extravagant vacations, the luxury car Ryan suddenly had, all the signs were there. And her mother's lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, had alerted her to unusual activity around her trust fund months before. That's why Sophia had prepared for this moment. She had already set her plan in motion, a plan Evelyn could never have anticipated. While Evelyn thought she was delivering the final blow, Sophia was already moving her chess pieces into place. She reached for her phone, her fingers steady despite the storm raging inside her. She opened her emails and found the one from Mr. Caldwell. She had been waiting for this, anticipating Evelyn's greed. Her mother had taught her to be strong, to fight for what was hers, and to never let anyone take advantage of her. With a calmness that belied her fury, Sophia typed out a message. She finally did it. It's time. And then she waited, her face betraying nothing, her resolve hardening. Sophia knew Evelyn was cunning, but she also knew Evelyn's greatest weakness, her arrogance. Evelyn believed she was untouchable, that she could manipulate her way out of any situation, that her lies were flawless. But she had made one critical mistake. She underestimated Sophia. Evelyn expected her to cry, to beg, to be broken. But Sophia was none of those things. She was resilient, intelligent, and most importantly, she was ready. Lying in that hospital bed, Sophia made a silent promise to herself. She would make Evelyn pay for every lie, every betrayal, and every cruel word. She would tear down the empire of manipulation Evelyn had built and expose her for the fraud she truly was. Evelyn thought she had taken everything, but she was wrong. She had only ignited Sophia's determination, and that would be her downfall. Sophia was weak, but she was not powerless, and that was the one thing Evelyn never saw coming. Sophia lay in her hospital bed, her body bruised and broken from the car accident, but her mind sharper than ever. Evelyn's cruel words echoed in her head. He's the real family here. You're just extra. The pain from her physical injuries was nothing compared to the emotional wound inflicted by her stepmother's heartless declaration. But even more devastating was the reason behind Evelyn's visit. She hadn't come out of concern or compassion. She came to deliver a calculated blow. Evelyn coldly confessed to draining Sophia's inheritance, the money her late mother had set aside to secure her future. Every penny was gone, handed over to Evelyn's son, Ryan. The betrayal was complete, and Evelyn had relished every moment of it. But Evelyn had made one crucial miscalculation. She underestimated Sophia. Expecting tears, rage, or even begging, Evelyn was prepared to bask in Sophia's emotional devastation. Yet Sophia did none of those things. Instead, she responded with eerie calm. "Thanks for letting me know." The slight twitch of confusion on Evelyn's face was the first sign that her victory was not as complete as she had imagined. Sophia's voice was steady, her expression neutral, masking the storm brewing within. In that moment, Evelyn realized she had not shattered Sophia. She had only made her more resolute. Lying in that sterile hospital room, Sophia's mind raced. She recalled the safeguards her mother had meticulously put in place before her death. Her mother had known Evelyn could not be trusted, and had set up a trust fund with layers of protection to ensure Sophia's future. But Evelyn was clever. She had played the long game, slowly weaving herself into their lives, manipulating Sophia's father and creating a false image of a loving stepmother. By the time Sophia realized Evelyn's true nature, the damage was already done. Evelyn had convinced her father to merge their finances, giving her the perfect opportunity to seize Sophia's inheritance. But Evelyn's greed was her downfall. She had forged Sophia's signature, manipulated bank documents, and executed fraudulent transactions to drain the trust fund. What she didn't know was that every unauthorized transaction had been flagged, logged, and investigated. Sophia's mother had prepared for this. She had foreseen Evelyn's ambitions and had partnered with Mr. Caldwell, a loyal family lawyer, to protect Sophia's financial future. It was Mr. Caldwell who had alerted Sophia months earlier about unusual activity, and it was Mr. Caldwell who now held the evidence needed to expose Evelyn's deceit. Sophia's mind shifted from the pain of betrayal to cold calculation. Her mother's words echoed in her memory. Never let them see you break. It was not in her nature to give in to despair. Her mother had taught her to be strong, to think 3 steps ahead, and to fight for what was rightfully hers. Evelyn believed she had won, that she had reduced Sophia to nothing. But all she had done was ignite a fire that would consume every lie Evelyn had ever told. Reaching for her phone, Sophia's hands were steady. She opened her emails and found the message from Mr. Caldwell, the one she had been saving for this very moment. Her fingers moved swiftly, tapping out a message. She finally did it. It's time. As she pressed send, a wave of determination washed over her. She had prepared for this. She knew Evelyn would one day reveal her true intentions. And when she did, Sophia would be ready. Evelyn thought she was powerless, a broken girl lying in a hospital bed. But Sophia was already orchestrating her downfall. The next steps were clear. Sophia would expose Evelyn's fraud, not just to reclaim her inheritance, but to bring her stepmother to justice. She was done playing the victim. Done letting Evelyn manipulate her father and twist the family dynamics. Sophia was going to show Evelyn what real power looked like. Her mother had taught her well. This wasn't just about the money. It was about reclaiming her identity, her place in the family, and her dignity. Sophia's plan was already in motion. She would confront her father, armed with undeniable evidence. She would make him see the truth, not just about the inheritance, but about the woman he had married. Sophia knew it wouldn't be easy. Evelyn had spent years poisoning his mind, convincing him that Sophia was the outsider, the unwanted daughter from his past. But Sophia would not back down. She would show him the forged signatures, the bank statements, the fraudulent transfers. She would expose Evelyn for the liar and manipulator she truly was. As the hospital lights dimmed, Sophia felt a strange sense of calm. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. She knew she would have to confront painful truths and challenge years of manipulation. But she was ready. Evelyn thought she had stolen Sophia's future, but all she had done was set her free. Free from the lies, free from the pain of being unwanted, free to fight for what was hers. Sophia's mother had given her more than just an inheritance. She had given her strength, resilience, and the wisdom to fight back. And fight back she would. Evelyn believed she had secured her victory, but she was about to learn the hard way that Sophia was not the fragile, powerless girl she thought she was. Sophia was a force to be reckoned with, and Evelyn's empire of lies was about to come crashing down. Sophia stood on the edge of her father's world, watching as the truth began to unravel the elaborate web of lies that Evelyn had spent years weaving. The confrontation was inevitable, but Sophia was ready. She had been preparing for this moment ever since Evelyn arrogantly revealed that she had drained her inheritance and handed it over to her own son, Ryan. Evelyn believed she had won, that she had left Sophia broken and powerless. But Evelyn had underestimated her stepdaughter's resilience and intelligence. Sophia wasn't just going to reclaim what was hers. She was going to destroy the illusion Evelyn had built and expose her for the fraud she truly was. The first step was confronting her father. It wasn't easy. Sophia's heart ached as she watched him struggle to reconcile the truth about his wife with the woman he thought he knew. Evelyn had been careful, spending years manipulating his emotions, twisting every situation to her advantage. She had played the role of the caring stepmother, the devoted wife, and the selfless woman who always put family first. But it was all a lie. Sophia knew that the truth would hurt him, but it was a necessary pain. Her father needed to see Evelyn for who she truly was. a master manipulator who had stolen his trust and his daughter's inheritance. Sophia presented him with the evidence, the forged signatures, the fraudulent bank transfers, and the undeniable proof that Evelyn had committed financial fraud. She watched as the color drained from his face, his shoulders slumping under the weight of the truth. "She lied to me, for years," he whispered, his voice laced with disbelief and sorrow. It was a moment of vulnerability that Sophia had never seen before. But she didn't soften. She couldn't. Her father needed to understand the depth of Evelyn's betrayal, not just against her, but against him as well. Even then, Evelyn didn't give up easily. She tried to manipulate the situation one last time, calling Sophia with a voice laced with fake remorse. "Sophia, sweetheart, this is all just a misunderstanding," she pleaded, her tone sickly sweet. "I only did it for Ryan. He needed a chance at a good life." But Sophia wasn't falling for it. She saw through Evelyn's act, recognizing the desperation behind her carefully crafted words. Evelyn wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was only sorry that she got caught. Sophia's voice was cold and steady as she responded. "Stop talking, Evelyn. It's over." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. For the first time, Evelyn realized she was losing. The power she had held over Sophia for so long was crumbling, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "The bank has already flagged your transactions. The fraud investigation is underway. Dad knows everything, and the walls are closing in. You have no way out," Sophia continued, her voice unwavering. Evelyn was silent, but Sophia could almost feel her fear through the phone. Sophia hung up, feeling a sense of closure wash over her. Evelyn's empire of lies was collapsing, and Sophia didn't have to lift a finger. The truth was powerful enough to destroy Evelyn's carefully constructed illusion of perfection. But Sophia wasn't finished yet. She wasn't satisfied with simply exposing Evelyn's fraud. She wanted justice. The next step was ensuring that Evelyn paid for her crimes, not just with humiliation, but with legal consequences. She contacted Mr. Caldwell, her mother's lawyer, who had been gathering evidence for months. Together, they submitted everything to the district attorney's office. It was out of her hands now, and she was ready to let the law take its course. As she stood by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, Sophia felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She had reclaimed her inheritance, her dignity, and her place in the family. But more than that, she had broken free from the shadows of Evelyn's manipulation. The journey wasn't over yet, but the hardest part was behind her. Evelyn's lies were finally exposed, and Sophia could move forward with her life, knowing she had fought for what was rightfully hers. She had faced betrayal and turned her pain into power, and now she was ready to write her own story, no longer defined by the lies of the past. Sophia stood at the crossroads of her life, ready to dismantle the empire of lies that Evelyn had meticulously constructed. For years, Evelyn had played the role of the devoted wife and caring stepmother, fooling everyone, especially Sophia's father. She had manipulated her way into the family's finances, stolen Sophia's inheritance, and crowned her son, Ryan, as the rightful heir. But Evelyn's arrogance was her downfall. She never saw Sophia as a threat, never imagined that the girl she dismissed as extra would rise to challenge her. But Sophia wasn't just fighting for her inheritance, she was fighting for her dignity, her identity, and her place in her own family. The confrontation was inevitable, but Sophia didn't go in unprepared. She had spent months gathering evidence, working closely with Mr. Caldwell, her mother's lawyer, to build an airtight case. Evelyn had forged signatures, manipulated bank documents, and committed financial fraud. But her greed had made her careless, leaving behind a trail of digital footprints that Sophia was determined to follow. She had watched Evelyn take extravagant vacations, buy luxury cars for Ryan, and flaunt a lifestyle funded by stolen money. Sophia knew the truth, and now it was time for everyone else to see it too. Sophia confronted her father first. It was the hardest conversation she had ever had, not because of the subject matter, but because of the look of betrayal on his face. He had been blinded by Evelyn's manipulations, convinced that she was the perfect wife who cared about his family. He struggled to accept that she was a liar and a thief. That she had stolen not just money, but also his trust. "I can't believe it," he murmured, his voice broken. "I trusted her. I loved her." Sophia felt a pang of sympathy but pushed it aside. He needed to see the truth, even if it shattered him. She showed him the bank statements, the forged documents, and the paper trail that led back to Evelyn. Her father's hands trembled as he flipped through the evidence, his face pale with shock. "She did all this, and I didn't see it," he whispered, his voice heavy with guilt. "She made me believe you were the problem, that you were selfish and ungrateful." Sophia's heart ached, but she stood firm. "She played all of us," she said softly. "But now, it's time to end her game." Evelyn sensed the walls closing in and made one last attempt to manipulate her way out. She called Sophia, her voice trembling with faux remorse. "Sophia, I made a mistake. I was just trying to help Ryan. You have to understand, he needed a chance." But Sophia saw through the act. She knew Evelyn wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry for getting caught. Her voice was cold and unwavering as she replied, "This isn't about Ryan. It's about you stealing from me and lying to my father. It's about you manipulating everyone around you. And now, it's over." Evelyn's empire was crumbling, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Sophia's father confronted her, presenting the undeniable evidence of her fraud. Evelyn tried to deny it, then shifted to blaming Ryan, then finally broke down, pleading for forgiveness. But her tears couldn't erase the years of deceit. Her father's face hardened as he realized the extent of her betrayal. "You ruined my family," he said, his voice cold and distant. "You stole from my daughter. You made me believe she was the problem. I can't even look at you." With that, he asked her to leave, severing the ties that Evelyn had fought so hard to create. Ryan, caught in the middle, was devastated. He confronted Sophia, his voice shaking. "She's losing everything. She's my mom. What am I supposed to do?" But Sophia stood her ground. "She chose this path, Ryan. She manipulated you, just like she did to everyone else. You can't save her from the consequences of her own actions." Ryan's face crumpled with anguish, but he knew she was right. He walked away, leaving Evelyn to face the consequences alone. The legal proceedings were swift. With the evidence Sophia and Mr. Caldwell presented, Evelyn had no choice but to plead guilty to financial fraud. She was forced to pay restitution, selling off her luxury belongings to repay the money she had stolen. Her social status was shattered, her reputation ruined, and her empire of lies reduced to nothing. Standing outside the courthouse, Sophia felt a sense of liberation. Evelyn was no longer a threat. The woman who had tried to erase her existence, who had stolen her inheritance and poisoned her family, was finally powerless. Sophia had reclaimed what was hers. Not just the money, but her identity, her place in the family, and her dignity. She was no longer extra. She was the rightful heir, the daughter her mother always believed in. As she walked away, Sophia knew she was free, ready to start a new chapter of her life, no longer defined by Evelyn's lies. Sophia stood at the edge of her past, ready to tear down the facade that Evelyn had built with lies and manipulation. For years, Evelyn had played the role of the loving stepmother, worming her way into Sophia's father's heart while simultaneously pushing Sophia out. She was a master of deception, carefully crafting an image of care and generosity while secretly stealing Sophia's inheritance. She did it all with a smile, making Sophia feel like an outsider in her own family, undeserving of love and belonging. But Evelyn's cruelty went deeper than just financial betrayal. She had worked tirelessly to erase Sophia's place in the family, making her feel like she was just extra. Those words haunted Sophia, echoing in her mind long after Evelyn had smugly walked out of her hospital room. But Evelyn had underestimated Sophia. She thought her stepdaughter was weak, broken by the car accident, and devastated by the loss of her inheritance. She thought she had won. But Sophia was not the naive girl Evelyn believed her to be. She had been preparing for this battle long before Evelyn made her final move. Her late mother had taught her to be strong, to be cautious, and to always be prepared. Sophia had been watching Evelyn's manipulations for years, quietly gathering evidence, working with her mother's lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, to protect her legacy. She had anticipated Evelyn's greed and knew she would eventually try to take what wasn't hers. Evelyn's arrogance was her downfall. She believed she was untouchable, that she had manipulated everyone to perfection. But she didn't realize that her every move was being documented. Her fraudulent transactions were being flagged, and her lies were finally catching up to her. Sophia had all the evidence she needed to expose her. Fake signatures, bank statements, and proof of financial fraud. Now it was time to bring Evelyn's empire of lies crashing down. The first step was confronting her father. Sophia knew it wouldn't be easy. Evelyn had poisoned his mind, made him believe that Sophia was selfish, ungrateful, and undeserving. But Sophia stood her ground, showing him the undeniable evidence of Evelyn's betrayal. Her father's face went pale as the truth unfolded, his world crumbling as he realized the woman he loved was a liar and a thief. The betrayal was staggering, but it was necessary. He needed to see Evelyn for who she truly was. When confronted, Evelyn tried to manipulate her way out, her voice trembling with false remorse. "Sophia, I did it for Ryan. He deserved a chance." But Sophia's cold gaze cut through her lies. "This was never about Ryan. It was about you and your greed. You took everything from me, but you won't take my dignity." Evelyn's face fell as she realized she had lost. Her power over Sophia was gone, shattered by the truth. Sophia didn't just reclaim her inheritance, she reclaimed her identity. She was no longer the outsider, no longer extra. She was stronger, wiser, and ready to build a future free from Evelyn's manipulation. Standing at the doorway of her new life, Sophia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past lift from her shoulders. She had won. Evelyn's lies were exposed, her empire destroyed, and Sophia was finally free. Standing on the threshold of her new life, Sophia felt the weight of the past finally lift from her shoulders. It was over. The lies, the betrayal, and the manipulation that had defined her life for years were gone, swept away by the truth she had so painstakingly uncovered. Evelyn's empire of deception was shattered, and her control over Sophia was broken. The woman who had stolen her inheritance, poisoned her family against her, and made her feel like an outsider, was now nothing more than a bad memory. Sophia had reclaimed what was hers, but more importantly, she had reclaimed herself. She was no longer defined by Evelyn's lies. She was free. It hadn't been an easy journey. Evelyn was a master manipulator who played the long game, carefully crafting a facade of care and generosity, while secretly undermining Sophia at every turn. She had made Sophia feel unwanted, insignificant, just extra in her own family. But that was over now. Sophia had exposed Evelyn's fraud, revealed her lies, and watched as her empire crumbled. Evelyn was forced to face the consequences of her actions. Her reputation ruined, her luxurious lifestyle stripped away, and her relationship with Sophia's father destroyed. The woman who once seemed invincible was now powerless, left with nothing but the wreckage of her own deceit. Sophia stood by her father as he confronted the painful truth. It was difficult to watch him struggle, to see the hurt and regret in his eyes as he realized how deeply he had been deceived. He had believed Evelyn's lies, turned a blind eye to her manipulations, and allowed her to push Sophia out of his life. But now, he saw the truth, and he was determined to make amends. "I'm so sorry, Sophia," he said, his voice heavy with guilt. "I failed you. I believed her lies and let her take everything from you." Sophia looked at him, the man who had once been her hero, and saw his vulnerability. The anger she had carried for so long began to melt away, replaced by a quiet understanding. "I know," she whispered, "but it's over now. We can move forward. Together." Sophia didn't just reclaim her inheritance, she rebuilt her life. She used the money her mother had left her to start a consulting firm, helping other women who had experienced financial betrayal. She transformed her pain into purpose, creating a legacy that honored her mother's memory. Her new business thrived, not just because of her intelligence and hard work, but because she understood the emotional toll of betrayal. She was determined to make sure no one else would feel as powerless as she once did. On the 1-year anniversary of her mother's passing, Sophia visited her grave with her father by her side. They stood in silence, reflecting on the journey they had taken, the battles they had fought, and the healing they were still working through. Her father placed a hand on her shoulder, his grip firm but gentle. "Your mother would be so proud of you," he said, his voice choked with emotion. Sophia looked at the headstone, feeling a wave of peace wash over her. She had fought for what was hers, exposed the lies, and emerged stronger than ever. She was no longer defined by the pain of the past. She was free, ready to write the next chapter of her life on her own terms. The story of Sophia's journey delivers powerful life lessons that resonate deeply, especially for older audiences who have witnessed the complexities of human relationships. One of the most profound messages is the importance of resilience and inner strength. Life may bring betrayal and pain, even from those we trust the most. However, just as Sophia chose not to be a victim, we too can choose how we respond to adversity. By staying calm, thinking strategically, and standing firm in our truth, we can overcome even the most challenging situations. Another important lesson is the value of integrity and justice. Sophia didn't seek revenge out of bitterness. She sought justice to reclaim her dignity and identity. This reminds us that standing up for ourselves is not about vengeance, but about restoring balance and respect. Additionally, the story highlights the importance of forgiveness, not to excuse the wrongs done to us, but to free ourselves from the burden of anger and resentment. In the end, Sophia chose to move forward with her life, focusing on growth and healing. This teaches us that true freedom comes from letting go of the past and embracing the future with hope and courage.